right, guys, let's go through the warm-up. Some of you are there. Some of you I know are not quite there yet, but hopefully we'll get there as we go through this. So first, we're going to label X and Y axes. You're going to see today why that's really important. So far, it hasn't been too crucial because nothing changes, but things are going to change today. So you're always going to have 4 tick marks on your x-axis. I'll call these our original labels of pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Remember, those come from your unit circle when we graphed last time. Okay, I'm going to do parent graph dots in green here, but I'm also going to account for the -2. What is the -2 doing? Yeah, multiplying y values by that. So sine starts at 0. 0 times -2 is still 0. Next one is normally at +1, so I know that's going to be at -2. 0 again. Then next point's normally at -1. It's going to be up here at +2. To 0, and then just follow your pattern whenever you see it. Okay, then we do have a shift. What is the shift that's happening here? Down 3. So I'm just full graph going down 3, taking those points. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. Okay, how do we do, guys? Pretty okay? Understanding those parent graph points, just like the position or the pattern of them, that's going to be really important today. Anybody questions on number 1? I'll start labeling number 2 while you guys are looking at that. That says 2 pi at the end. I know you can't read that at all. All right, guys. So again, in green, I'm going to do cosine, but with the stretch. So stretched vertically by 3. Normally it starts at 1. It's going to be up here at 3. Then 0. Instead of -1, I'll be at -3. 0, 3. Pattern, pattern, pattern. Are you catching on, Chris? Okay. Did you watch the video yet? Okay. It's there. All right, and then what's the one translation I have? One shift. Up 1. I like it. In between tissues, up 1. All right. How are we feeling about the warm-up? Kind of okay. All right. Anybody questions before we jump in with our notes? Yeah, wait, definitely. Harper, are you catching on a little? Okay, good, good. Good job, Renata. Very good thing. Okay. Anybody need more time? All right, let me erase a little bit here before we into this. Okay, focus on the first one here. All right, guys, jot down number one. We are now jumping into graphing, and we're going to do all the transformations today. So the two you already know how to do, and we're going to add two more. If you guys were gone last time, this will actually help you figure that part out too, because we're going to graph the parent graph dots every single time. So, okay, good. So guys, what kind of shift is happening in this one? Yeah, to the right. You guys see how it's in the parentheses, right? That means it's a phase shift or a horizontal shift. If it was like +2 outside of here, that's the up and down, okay? That's not there. We're not doing that. Baby steps here. So we're going to label, yeah?
So we're going to label it the same as the graph before.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, except on the y-axis just those, and we just move it like that's just +1.
Like to the right. Yes. Yes. All right, so I'm going to label like we did before. You still have 4 tick marks here that you're going to label every time. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, regular labels. I'm going to go ahead and put parent graph dots in green. If you have multicolors again, it's a good time to use them. All right, so sine is the one that starts at 0, 0. And then again, know this pattern, like know just where the dots go. So the final graph, we said we're going to shift right by pi over 2. If I ask you, like if it's ever a fill in the blank, what is the phase shift, you would say pi over 2. But on the graph, you're thinking tick marks, like how many tick marks is pi over 2? 1 tick mark, a full tick mark. So you're just moving everything over one spot on the graph, okay? So let me show you, just to make sure you see it. So this green dot right here, I'm just moving it to the right 1 tick mark. I'm going to move this guy to the right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yep. You move it however many tick marks that is equivalent to. So yes. Good question. And again, if you're like, I don't like moving every single dot, if you just see the pattern, like if you're very comfortable with the graph and can see the pattern, great, just do that. Just make sure you're doing it correctly. Now the end dot. there's not really anywhere for it to go, right? We'd be shifting off the graph. We don't really want to do that. So we got to stop there, and then we have to figure out, you guys see how we're missing a dot on the left end? And we figure out our pattern. So let me get rid of my arrows. Right, negative 1, 0, 1, 0. Negative 1, 0, 1, 0.
Negative 1.
There we go. Okay. And that is your final graph. Hopefully yours is a little prettier than mine. Remember to make them curvy. They aren't just straight lines.
What did you do to get that last point?
So I followed the pattern. Like if you look starting on the right side, negative 1, 0, 1, 0. Negative 1, 0, 1, 0. The other thing you can do, the ends of your graph will always match. So the right side was at negative 1, and the left side's at negative 1. Okay. Other questions on this one? All right, I'll leave it so you can see it if you're stuck there a little bit, but let's try number 2. You guys are going to do this. Label everything. Try to do your transformation. You got this. For number 1. So we shifted to the right by pi over 2. So I took the green dot. Pi over 2 is one spot. So I just moved each green dot over one spot.
Oh, towards the okay, got it.
Yeah, so start on the left end. Bless you. All right, guys, check with your neighbor. Do you have the same graph?
Yes, we do.
Who is this?
feel so proud of myself. I don't think anybody else is proud of me.
Again, make sure you label. Uh-oh. What'd you do?
Sine.
Oh, yeah. That happened. All right, so parent graph dots, this time it's for cosine. So I start up at 1. Follow your pattern.
Oh, that's the original graph.
All right, where am I shifting this time?
To negative pi.
Left pi, and how many tick marks is that?
2.
Yes, we got to go over 2 spots this time.
So what is the same graph as the one I'm talking about?
Remember, fill in your pattern at the end on the other side.
Right, so it is.
So guys, when we get to the point where we're writing the equation from the graph, like you can see here, these two graphs are the same. Totally different equations written. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into the writing of the equations. Today, we'll just graph. Oh, yes. It's easy to mix it up. Yeah.
How come we run the dot, the green dot on negative pi?
So this dot, we didn't actually go anywhere with it. Like this one, I don't know which one are you talking about. This guy?
The one on top.
This one? Yeah, so it, ends up over here. We don't really use that to fill in this pattern. You just look at the ones that are actually on the graph and go, okay, I got here, I've got to go 0 next, and then I've got to go.
So that one and the other one.
These two really don't mean anything.
So they're just solving out.
Yeah. Because technically this one shifted to this, which doesn't really help you because you already knew that one. So, yep. Anything else with that guy? Okay. Ooh. Did anybody need that graph any longer? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, guys, jot it down. We'll do this one together, okay? Yep. Clearly looks a little different than anything we've done so far. What? 7, I think. 7. If I remember right. Yes, but I'll show you how. Don't try to do it on your own. All right, guys, I'll label my y-axis. We are still going to have 4 tick marks on the x-axis, but don't label them yet. When you see a coefficient on the x like this, that means you're going to have different labels on your x-axis. Okay, so they're not going to be the original labels. What we're doing here, that b value impacts the period. The period of the graph, we wrote this down last time, but it didn't really mean anything, is 2 pi over b. All the graphs you've done so far have had a b value of 1, so it didn't matter. This one is going to be 2 pi over 2, which is pi. Okay, you see it? What that means is your 4th tick mark is now going to be pi, because we're going to still graph 2 cycles of our sine curve here. So we're going to have to change our labels. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to write the original labels above the x-axis here. I'm going to erase them eventually, but we'll start with them up here. right? Those are the ones you're used to using. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi.
Yes.
We're changing them. So how did 2 pi turn into pi? I divided it by 2. Okay, 3 pi over 2 divided by 2. 3 pi over 4. It's too many fraction levels, right? Okay, remember dividing by 2. We'll just do it off to the side here. Dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. Okay. All right, the next one, pi. What will that become? We like that one better, right? What about pi over 2? What's that? Yeah, pi over 4. So those are the labels we're going to use in this graph. All right, so we'll label the left side also. You're going to see a lot of the labels, the same labels used over and over, so hopefully it won't be too tricky to get used to seeing them. And also just look at the way you wrote them and make sure it makes sense, like a quarter, then a half, then 3/4, and then 1 pi, right? Like that's in order, evenly split. That should all make sense once you've relabeled. Okay. Relabeling pretty much does all the work for you because now we're going to just put our sine points in their regular position. Don't pay attention to now, oh, that's pi over 4. Where is that? No. Just go, okay, sine starts at 0, 0. Then it's up to 1, back to 0, -1, 0. That is your final graph. Because you relabeled, there's nothing else that you have to do to that one. Yeah, let me show you something, guys. You don't need to write this down. Oh, did we have an aha moment there? I'll go back to that one in a second here. Let me graph for you sine of x and sine of 2x on the same grid so you can see like what that 2 is actually doing. So don't write this down. This is just me showing you, okay? So I'm going regular labels here. So in green, I'm going to graph just your parent graph of sine, okay? I'll actually just do it on the right side. Everybody okay with that? Okay. If I were to graph this on the same out to 2 pi sort of x-axis, this is what it would look like.
Oh. So yeah, you're dividing.
Yeah, do you see it? Okay. So what we're doing, the way we're graphing it is we're saying, okay, we're going to zoom in and just look at one cycle of the graph. So that's why we're only graphing up to pi. Okay. The 2 here tells me I would see 2 cycles of the graph by the time I got to 2 pi. So what if it said sine of 3x? Yeah, it'd be like this crazy up and down even faster. What if it said sine of 1/4 x?
There'd be 2 in between.
You'd see like this much of the graph. By the time you got to 2 pi, you'd be here. Okay? So it tells you like how many cycles of the graph you're going to see. Relabeling the x-axis the way we do is so that we can graph it and see one, technically two, because we do positive and negative, like a full cycle of the graph. Does that help a little bit visually see what that's doing? Okay. Let's practice some more. Anybody questions on this before I? Tommaso, you look like you got a question.
I should have said
Okay.
it.
So you get the green one, right? Parent graph. Okay. This is what we just graphed on the previous slide, but we only graphed it to pi. Because remember, we labeled pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. We like put in those tick marks. So we kind of like zoomed in on that part. I'm just showing you what it would look like if we graphed it on the way to 2 pi. You'd see 2 full cycles of it.
Okay.
That's what the 2 is telling you. That's what I was saying. If you see, like, let's say you saw sine of 5x, it'd be just like this crazy up and down to get there.
Okay.
Okay? Better? You're welcome. All right. Ready for number 4. Okay, you guys try this one. You can do it. Okay, good. So if we graph to 2 pi, we'd see half of it. But that's not how we're going to graph it. You're going to graph however much of it you need to see. Okay? Check in with each other. How we doing?
This one. Close. You know, I think I thought you were
That's right. Point through. Yeah, that's what
Move your head to the side.
there.
This is it.
Yes, like max. Not against all the credit, right? You say
What about those pencils? The yellow ones, green?
Pencils don't have to.
The number two pencils. They're like, it's always for like.
This is what, right? You have the yellow, and then you have the pink eraser.
Erasers, but like, erasers like this.
Oh, sometimes there are those kids. No, this
So you okay, so once you see that, yes, so we're going to do 2 pi divided by.
and this eraser is real, it's really quality.
Okay, and then we do divided by.
So it's from the lower
Well, okay, so not.
yeah, it's a lovely tree. Well, there are synthesizers. And then there's two.
This one is 5, yes. Okay. You're just tired. Yeah, so you can just go. Are these the only two? What?
Yes. Yes.
What's happening? Struggles? All right, guys, so the period, 2 pi over b, okay? 2 pi divided by 1/2. When you're dividing by a fraction, that is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Are we okay with 4 pi being the period? You see it? Okay. Now, how you find your other labels, you can go through the process and think of the original labels, divided by 1/2 or multiplied by 2. Or you can go, well, if that one's 4 pi, it must be 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. If you just see it. No, divided by 1/2. Oh, you mean divide the whole thing by 4?
You get 4 pi, since it's going to be.
Each one is 1 pi.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
5 pi. You're going to have to break up.
Well, if it's 5 pi, then each one is 5/4 pi. You'd have to add, and that would be a little tricky. That is a -1, not a 2. Okay, we've relabeled, nothing else is happening, so we just put in our dots in the right position. And that's it. Okay. Are we feeling okay with that? Okay, we're going to now combine multiple transformations. So not just a b value, not just a c value. We'll put some of those things together, okay? Let me do some erasing here first. What? All right, jot down number 5 for me. We're going to do this one together, guys. Don't worry. We want to do some labeling of the x and y axis here first. So, y axis, that's easy. And maybe you don't know how far you need to go until you get in a problem. That's all right. 4 tick marks here. What is the period of this function? 2 pi over 1/2, which is, 4 pi. Okay, so we just did it in the last problem. Our label's pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Okay. All right, in green, I'm going to do my parent graph dots, but I'm going to do that vertical stretch. Which number is telling me the vertical stretch? The 2. Okay, so I'm going to think of sine, starts at 0, 0. Instead of over to 1, I'm going to go to 2, back to 0, down to -2, 0. Follow your pattern. I only have one more thing to do then. What's the last transformation I have? Down 3. So we're just going to move each dot down 3. And there's your graph. All right, guys, questions on 5? It's not too bad, right? Combining those just one step at a time. You can do it. A little bit, little. Which part? Oh, okay. Just like worried it's going to get bad. Okay. jot down number 6 for me. Anybody need more time on 5? Yeah, okay. Wait a second here. We can start jotting down 6. We're also going to do 6 together because it's a little different than 5 was.
No, I don't think I can do it.
Do you guys see on this one how we have a period change, like a b value, and we have a phase shift, a sideways shift, right? When you see that, you have to factor. You have to rewrite this in factored form. It's not that bad. So we're going to write 3 cosine. You always factor out whatever the coefficient on x is. So whatever is with the x, that's what's coming outside. So that's x. What is the pi going to turn into? Yes, pi over 2. This is the one you are graphing. You can ignore the original one. This is what you need to look at. Original one, it looks like your shift is by pi. It's not. Your shift is by pi over 2. Okay, so you've got to factor before you do anything else. Okay. The 2 is still your b value. It's going to change the labels on your x-axis. It's still 2x, right? Okay. Nina? Your question too? Okay. All right, so let's start labeling. So y-axis just up to 3.
Would you get the same graph the other way?
If you shifted by pi instead? Nope, because you're shifting by a different amount. All right, let's find the period so we can do these labels. What's the period, guys? Pi, because we do 2 pi over b. So we do get just pi. The 2 is, this guy is still the b value, okay? All right, so what are my labels on my x-axis? Pi over 4. Pi over 2. Good, and pi. All right, let's stop there for a second. Are we okay there? You've done the hardest parts at this point. The actual graphing isn't that bad. We okay up to this point? All right, it's a cosine graph, so I'm going to do parent graph at green with that vertical stretch, okay? So parent with stretch. Cosine normally starts at 1 on the y-axis. There's a 3 out in front, so I'm going to move that up to 3. 0 is still 0. Negative 1 becomes negative 3. 0, 3. And then what's the last piece I have to do? Shift to the right. How much? Yeah. Pi, shifting right by pi over 2, which is 2 tick marks. Fill in the rest of the pattern, and you're done. Take it a step at a time, guys. Don't look at it and think you just have to like spit out the final graph without writing anything else down. It doesn't usually work very well.
Yes.
All right. One more, guys. One more in the notes. You guys are going to do this one. Do the whole thing. Ricky, you look like you're maybe not excited about this one.
Ricky's really excited.
It's not as bad as it looks. Yeah. Promise. The factoring's not as scary as it looks. This is a factor first kind of problem. Label your x-axis. Go from there. Give you some time to do this one.
Factoring time. This is so exciting. Sine big bracket thingy. 1/2. That is 1/5. That is not correct.
Guys, I'm going to write the factored form just to make sure we're okay with that and you're graphing the right thing, you know.
First. No. Yes.
Sorry guys, my writing of this did not go well. I'm limited in my space on that side.
Are we doing it before 5?
Oh, talk to your neighbor. What do you think?
Sorry.
You guys okay with factoring out the half? That makes it x plus pi in there. Does that make sense? Okay. You're very excited.
Because think about it. It's based on the units of the circle. The circle doesn't look like this. This is positive, this is minus, so that's why you have this and then this, okay?
Label first.
Oh, at first I could. Then after classes. No. Oh. No. After drawing it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, the more you do it, you actually can make it up. You said that you have to draw I remember.
Just add another color, it's fine. All right, guys, let me show you. This is our last one. Period is 4 pi.
Yeah. We did that. That makes me fifth grade was like 4.
All right, so parent graph, there's no stretch this time. So I've just got some regular parent graph dots. Where am I going? Okay, and left high, which is 1 tick mark, yes. So we have to go down to that way high.
That's why you
Yes.
All right, guys, how'd we do? Pretty good? Okay. You did what? I'm sorry. Did you end up with the right final graph? You're good. Everybody sees it like, some people are like, I need the dots and I have to move the dots. Other people are like, oh, but my starting point went here, and so then I graph it from there. Great. Whatever your brain like makes sense of, as long as you get to the end, okay? I'm good with it. All right, guys. I'll leave this up here. Your homework is a worksheet. I'm just going to pass that out for the rest of the time to work on that. I'm also going to pass out just your calendar of all of the skill 5 stuff when your session is. Forgot to give you that last time. Oh, they were just sitting on the Sorry, January.
No, I was trying to say.
Is it the 60 and a half?
Someone wrote that it was not. Take it all. Take it all to ask. You're bringing January.
I'm so glad that the federal holiday was Monday, not Friday. We didn't have to have school. Because when it's on Friday, then it's just part of the correct. But you know, last month, last year didn't matter because we just entirely got
And guys, one thing to note, like on number 3, -3 cosine of x over 2. Realize x over 2 is the same as 1/2 x. Okay. All right. So 3rd period, someone was confused, so I just want to make sure we're okay with that. You what?